गिरिवरदा यशोदानंदन प्रज जनरंजन यशोदानंदन प्रज जनरंजन तीरा वनचार यमुना तीरा वनचार रात माधव कुंज विहार रात माधव कुंज विहार जय गोपीजन वल्लभा गिरिवरदा जय गोपीजन वल्लभा गिरिवरदा यशोदानंदन प्रज जनरंजन यशोदानंदन प्रज जनरंजन यमुना तीरा वनचारी यमुना तीरा वनचारी जय रात माधव कुंज विहारी हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम राम हरे 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 कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम राम हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम राम हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम राम हरे हरे जय प्रभुपदा जय प्रभुपदा जय प्रभुपदा शील प्रभुपदा जय प्रभुपदा जय प्रभुपदा जय प्रभुपदा शील प्रभुपदा जय ओम विष्णुपाद परमहंस परिव्रजक अष्टोत्तर सदस्य श्रीमद इस डिवाइन प्रेसी भक्ति वेदांत शील प्रभुपाद की जय। इस्कॉन संस्थापक शील प्रभुपाद की जय। जय ओम विष्णुपाद परमहंस परिव्रजक अष्टोत्तर सदस्य श्रीमद इस डिवाइन प्रेसी भक्ति सिद्धांत सरस्वती गोस्वामी महाराज प्रभुपाद की जय। जय ओम विष्णुपाद श्री लकुर किशोर दास महाराज की जय। जय ओम विष्णुपाद सच्चिदानंद श्री भक्ति ठाकुर की जय। जय ओम विष्णुपाद वैष्णव सार्वभौम श्री जगन्नाथ दास महाराज की जय। जय श्री रूप सनातन भट्ट रघुनाथ श्री जीव गोपाल गुप्ता सब गोस्वामी प्रभु की जय। नमाचार्य श्री हरिदास ठाकुर की जय। प्रेम से कोशी कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री शिव गौर भक्त वृंद की जय। श्री श्री राधा कृष्ण गोपिना श्याम कुंड राधा कुंड गिरी गोवर्धन की जय, श्री 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 मायापुर धाम की जय, श्री वृंदावन धाम की जय, गंगा माई की जय, यमुना माई की जय, भक्ति देवी की जय, तुलसी देवी की जय, अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय, श्री हरिनाम संकीर्तन की जय, ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय, ISKCON Patmara Guru Vande ki jai, Samavita Bhakti Vande ki jai, Gaura Premanande Hari Bol. All glories to the assembled. So all glories to the assembled. So all glories to the assembled. So all glories to Sri Guru and Sri Gaura and all goes to Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswati Vyasam Tato Jayamudiraye. नष्टप्रायेषु अपत्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवती उत्तम श्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिभिः. Hare Krishna. Welcome on to the Friday morning Srimad Bhagavatam class. Today we are discussing from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 4, Chapter 16, text number 3. Atha viudara shavasa prutorharehe फलावतारस्य कथामृतादृताः यथोपदेशं मुनिभिः प्रचोदिताः श्लाघ्यानि कर्माणि वयं वितन्महि अथाप्युदार श्रवसः कृतोर्हरे कलावतारस्य कथामृतादृताः यतोपदेशं मुनिभिः प्रचोदिताः श्लाघ्यानि कर्माणि वयं वितन्महि अथापि उदार श्रवसः कृतोर्हरेः कलावतारस्य कथामृतादृताः यथोपदेशं मुनिभिः प्रचोदिताः श्लाघ्यानि कर्माणि वयं वितान्महि. Translation Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Although we are unable to glorify you adequately, we nonetheless have a transcendental taste for glorifying your activities. We shall try to glorify you according to the instructions received from authoritative sages and scholars. Whatever we speak, however, is always inadequate and very insignificant. Dear King, because you are the direct incarnation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, all your activities are liberal and ever laudable. Purport Srila Prabhupada ki jai. However expert one may be, he can never describe the glories of the Lord adequately. Nonetheless, those engaged in glorifying the activities of the Lord should try to do so as far as possible. Such an attempt will please the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Lord Chaitanya has advised all his followers to go everywhere and preach the message of Lord Krishna. Since this message is essentially Bhagavad Gita, the preacher's duty is to study Bhagavad Gita as it is understood by disciplic succession and explained by great sages and learned devotees. One should speak to the general populace in accordance with one's predecessors, Sadhu, Guru, and Shastras. This simple process is the easiest method by which one can glorify the Lord. Devotional service, however, is the real method, for by devotional service one can satisfy the Supreme Personality of Godhead within just a few words. Without devotional service, volumes of books cannot satisfy the Lord. Even though preachers of the Krishna conscious movement may be unable to describe the glories of the Lord, they can nonetheless go everywhere and request people to chant Hare Krishna. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupakadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yudapadakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sakrajatam Sargana Raghunathambitam Tam Sajivam Satvaitam Savadutam Parijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sargana Shri Vishakanvitamscha हे कृष्णा करुणा सिंधु दीनबंधो जगतपते गोपेश गोपिका कांता राधा कांता नमोस्तुते सप्तकांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुस्ते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपासिन्धुभ्यः पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमः. जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद. हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे. मोहम करोति वाचालं भंगं निर्भीतिर्मत्कृपातमहं वन्दे श्रीगुरुं श्रीमतां परमानन्दमाधवं श्री चैतन्येश्वरम्. हरे कृष्णा. So we see that in this chapter entitled Praise of King Prithu by the professional reciters. So Prithu Maharaj was uh, enthroned as the king, and the practice was that there were many who would recite the glories of the Lord. So here also, in this case also, when he was enthroned, there were many professional reciters who sang the glories of Prithu Maharaj. So last class, I discussed about the importance of glorification. Here we'll understand a little more on the subject. And those who are reciting, they are telling Prithu Maharaj, although we are unable to glorify you adequately, we nonetheless have a transcendental taste for glorifying your activities. That means they are humbling themselves by mentioning that they are not in a position to glorify the Lord adequately, but still they have a taste for glorifying the Lord's activities. Then they say that we shall try to glorify you according to the instructions received from authoritative sages and scholars. So, based on the authorities given by the Sadhu Shastra and Guru, they are going to recite. They are going to glorify Puthu Maharaj. Then they say that whatever we speak, however, is always inadequate and very insignificant. So, irrespective of how much they glorify the Lord, still it is inadequate and very insignificant. Then they say, Dear King, because you are a direct incarnation of Supreme Personality of Godhead, all your activities are liberal and ever laudable. So they are concluding that because Puthu Maharaj is an incarnation of the Lord Himself, his activities are appreciable and they are very, very liberal in nature. So we'll go a little more into details of some of the important points that are mentioned in today's sloka. So, Lord is unlimited. One of the names of the Supreme Lord is Ananta, and that means one who is unlimited. He's unlimited in every respect. He's unlimited in his activities, he's unlimited in his pastimes, he's got unlimited names, and he's got unlimited this thing. And we have got limitations in everything. We have a limited intelligence, we have a limited activities, we have anything that is related to us in this material world is limited. So, with our limited capacity, one cannot uh, uh, glorify the unlimited Lord. That is the most important thing. So, there is an example in Srimad Bhagavatam where there is a mention that Lord as Ananta Deva. Now, the Lord's in one of the incarnation is Ananta. Lord Krishna expands his Baladeva, and Baladeva's one of the expansions is Anantadeva. This Anantadeva has got thousands of mouths, and we'll see what Srimad Bhagavatam mentions. In 4:30:31, it is mentioned that anyone's prayer to the Supreme Lord is never complete because the Lord is complete, rest everyone is incomplete. So we cannot offer complete prayers to the Lord. We are all incomplete. So irrespective of whatever it is not possible to complete the glories of the Supreme Lord because the Lord is unlimited and we are limited. So then there is an example given that even the Lord himself in his incarnation as Ananta or Shesha cannot describe the Lord's glories. That means Ananta has thousands of faces and he has thousands of mouths, but still he cannot glorify the Lord to the fullest limit. That is because the Lord is unlimited, and Ananta is one of the expansions of the Lord. So Ananta Dev also could not find the limit of the glories of the Lord. So it is not possible to completely estimate the potencies and glories of the Lord. And we should never try to estimate the potency or glories of the Lord also, because we are all the limited nature. So, nevertheless, everyone offers some prayers to the Lord, and we all are bound constitutionally, being a part and parcel of the Supreme Lord, we are bound to glorify the Lord. So, we'll understand the benefits of glorifying, but then how to glorify also. So, beginning from Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva, everyone is a servant of the Lord, being the part and parcel of the Lord. So everyone is got a relative position, but still they can offer prayers with heart and soul as much as possible to appreciate the Lord's glories. So when they chant the glories of the Lord becomes pleased and also they become purified, because everyone in this material world has got some conditional existence. So by chanting the glories of the Lord, then becomes purified. So that is the way of attaining perfection. There is a quote in the fifth canto of Srimad Bhagavatam also, which mentions, I'll just read the translation, while bearing the universe on one of his hoods, Anantadeva chants the glories of Krishna with each one of his thousands of mouths, with each of his thousands of mouths. That means Anantadeva is holding the universes on each of his hoods. Now, if we carry a weight, we may not be able to speak. But Anantadeva takes the weight of the universe on his hood, and still he tries to chant with thousands of his mouths, but still he's not able to reach the limits. And the next sloka says that although he has been chanting the glories of Lord Krishna since time immemorial, he has still not come to their end. Now, for example, if we see, we read Srimad Bhagavatam. So there is a point at which we have read Canto 1, we came to 2, 3, 4, 5, and then we go out to 12 cantos, uh, consisting of 18 volumes. One day that will also come to the end. Not that the glories of the Lord are limited, but because we are limited. We may again go back to, because we cannot understand even Srimad Bhagavatam, even if you read 4 times, 3 or 4 times. So we come back to reading Srimad Bhagavatam. That's why it is said that whenever we apply for Bhakti Shastri exam and all, we have to read Srimad Bhagavatam, first and second canto, and so forth, again and again. And particularly in the second canto, there is mentioned Srimad Bhagavatam that as long as we are materially conditioned, unless and until we come to that stage of purification, we should continue to read the first and second canto to at least we have some purification in us. Otherwise, many times people go and try to read the 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, by the last three pastimes I mentioned. One should never try to relish that, because one should try to understand the creation and other important factors mentioned in the first and second canto. So the point is that Ananta, who is an incarnation of the Lord himself, he tries to glorify the Lord and he's not able to reach the limits. And there is a quote in Srimad Bhagavatam also, where the translation says, to this very day, Lord Ananta continues to chant the glories of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and still he finds no end to them. So, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is the Supreme Personality of Godhead himself, but he came as a devotee. But still, Lord Ananta continues to chant the glories of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and still he finds no end to that. So, the most important thing is that one can never describe the glories of the Lord adequately, but still one should try to do as much as possible to one's capacity. Now, in the fourth canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, there's a mention about Prithu Maharaj itself. Prithu Maharaj was a self-realized soul. So naturally, he had an inclination to glorify the activities of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And the Kumaras assured him that there was no chance of his falling a victim to the illusion of the Supreme Lord. In other words, the process of hearing and chanting about the glories of the Lord is the only means to clarify the heart of clear the heart of material contamination. See, we have anarthas like lust, anger, greed, envy, pride, and illusion. And all these can be cleared or rather cleansed by chanting the glories of the Lord. And one of the names of the Lord is Uttama Sloka. That means the Lord is glorified by very beautiful verses. And the Lord is glorified in select poetry. So if we see in Srimad Bhagavatam itself, there are prayers of, in the first canto itself, we find prayers of Queen Kunti. Then we find prayers of Bhishma Dev. We find prayers of Dhruva Maharaj. We find prayers of Prahlad Maharaj. Now, we may not have the capacity, we may not have the intelligence to compose slokas to glorify the Lord. But The very fact that if we are able to recite the same prayers which are given in the Srimad Bhagavatam, that is a means of glorification. Glorification means kirtan, it is chanting the glories of the holy name. So Prithu Maharaj also glorified the Supreme Lord when he was performing the yajna. That is coming in the fourth canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. And in the first canto itself, there is a quote that idam hi pumsata pahasya cha. The translation says, learned circles have positively concluded that the infallible purpose of advancement of knowledge, namely austerities, study of the Vedas, sacrificing, chanting of the hymns and charity, culminates in the transcendental descriptions of the Lord who is defined in choice poetry. That means whatever we may do in terms of advancement of knowledge, we may perform tapasya, a lot of tapasya. We may study the Vedas, we may perform sacrifices. We may do a lot of chanting of the Vedic hymns. We may do some charity, but everything ultimately culminates in describing the transcendental Lord by means of nice choice poetry. This poetry means these verses which we are discussing. The professional reciters were glorifying Prithu Maharaj by nice slokas and nice, this is poetry in the form of poetry. Then another important point is that Sukadeva Goswami instructs the sages of Naimisharanya, also very important sloka. Tasmat ekena manasa bhagavan satvatam patihi shrotavya kirtitavyascha dheya pujyascha nidyata. The translation is, therefore, with one point attention, one should constantly hear about, glorify, remember, and worship the personality of Godhead, who is the protector of the devotees. So here, one important point in the sloka is tasmat. That tasmat means therefore. That therefore means it's a conclusion. One must take this as a conclusion of this sloka. And what is it? There are four processes that are mentioned in that. One is, first one should constantly hear about the Lord, because you can't glorify a personality without hearing about that person. So first we hear, and the next is glorify. After hearing, you glorify the personality. And the third is, whatever glorification we do, we also try to remember, because ultimately what is required at the time of the end of our leaving this body is Vishnu Smaranam, that is remembering the Lord. And finally, it says worship the Lord. So one should worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So these four processes are given so that at the end of our life, we are able to remember the Personality of Godhead. The next important point is, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu went on a tour of South India, and there he met one person in the name of Kurma Brahmana. So when Mahaprabhu visited all these places, he came across in a village. That place is still called Kurma Kshetra. If any of you go to Andhra, you can see this place that is still there. And Mahaprabhu met this person called Kurma Brahmana, and he gave an instruction. Yare deka tare kaha Krishna Upadesha, Amara Ajnaya Guru Hana Tara Ei Desha. The meaning is that instruct everyone to follow the orders of Lord Shri Krishna as they are given in the Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam. In this way, become a spiritual master and try to liberate everyone in this land. So uh, here the process is given. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is personality of Godhead himself, but he appeared as a devotee. And then he, in this instruction, gives the instruction to Kurma Brahmana. That Brahmana wanted to accompany the Lord, but the Lord said, no, you stay here in this place. Rather, you glorify the Lord by taking the message of Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam. And by that process, you become a spiritual master and try to deliver everyone in this land. So the point is that many times people ask a question, which this Kurma Brahmana asked when he met Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, that I would like to leave my family and go accompany you. But no, in the Kali Yuga, it is not possible. That is why even sannyas is not recommended. But one can practice this Krishna consciousness, one can practice religious life, even by sitting at home and chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, and taste Krishna Prasadam. These two preliminary activities are sufficient enough for one's purification if it is done properly. And then if one is little literate or he has studied, he can read Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam, from in which there are many prayers also given. And then by reading these two literatures, one can advance to give the glories of the Lord or give the message of Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam to the rest of the community, by which they also can be delivered. That is what is called the compassion. So one must have a mood of compassion to deliver the other conditioned souls also. Of course, then other things are one should refrain from sinful activities like meat eating, intoxication, gambling, and illicit sex. So the point is that the human life is given to attain perfection, the spiritual platform, and go back to Godhead. And this is what is called perfection of spiritual realization. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gave this instruction to Purna Brahmana, and that is applicable to each and every one of us also. Then there is a mention in this purport today that one should speak to the general populace in accordance with one's predecessors, that is Sadhu, Shastra, and Guru. Predecessors means we all come in a parampara. Padma Purana mentions about 4 authorized paramparas, and we all come in the Brahma Madhava Gaudiya Sampradaya. Lord Rudra has got, Shiva has got a sampradaya in the name of Rudra Sampradaya. Lakshmi Devi has got a sampradaya in the name of Sri Sampradaya. The 4 Kumaras have got sampradaya in the name of Kumara Sampradaya. So one should follow their predecessors and through that take the instructions of Sadhu, Guru, and Shastra. Sadhus are pure devotees of the Lord. One should also accept a guru who gives the guidance on how to perform devotional service. And the process of devotional service is given in Shastras. And this is the easiest means of trying to glorify the Lord based on reciting what is given in Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam. There is also a mention on the 4th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, 30th chapter, that the Lord's pastimes, qualities, forms, and names are all unlimited. There is no limit to his names, forms, pastimes, creation, and paraphernalia. But a living entity cannot conceive of the unlimited of the unlimited. Lord is unlimited. And because he's unlimited, everything related to him is also unlimited. But we as insignificant jiva cannot conceive of his unlimitedness. But if the living entities are engaged in hearing about the unlimited potencies of the Lord, they are actually connected directly to the unlimited. And such understanding of the unlimited becomes unlimited by hearing and chanting. So the Lord is unlimited, but we are limited. But if we are engaged in hearing about the unlimited potencies of the Lord, we are connected with the unlimited. That means that Lord is absolute. Since the Lord is absolute, there is no difference between the Lord, his activities, his pastimes, and glorification, his activities. So when we glorify the Lord is physically present in that glorification. And when we do that, and such understanding of the unlimited becomes unlimited by hearing and chanting. So when we glorify that unlimited Lord, though we may be limited, but still the glories are limited. Then another important point is that we should try to glorify according to the instructions received from authoritative sages and scholars. Why there is a mention about Sadhu, Shastra, and Guru? Because one should know how much to glorify, how to glorify, because one can glorify even pure devotees of the Lord. But then one should not glorify the devotees of the Lord as the Lord himself. Though they are non-different from the Lord, one should know that still pure devotees of the Lord are living entities. Now, living entities have some limitations which are there in this material world. If someone tries to glorify a living entity in a wrongful manner, we take the reactions for that. And I mentioned the last class also, by glorifying a wrong person with some qualities which is not existing in him, it is not the right way of glorification also. So one should try to glorify according to instructions received from mentioned on the scriptures as well as the sages. So if you read the prayers of all these pure devotees of the Lord, one can get a lot of insight. For example, even in the prayers of Queen Kunti, she describes the unlimited Lord with her limited capacity. That understanding, that mode we should have. And we cannot do what Queen Kunti does because she's a pure devotee of the Lord. But still, we must understand that we have limitation. But if we try to glorify that unlimited, we get the benefit of it. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also instructed all his devotees, Bala Krishna, Bhaja Krishna, Gava Krishna Nama, Krishna Vinu Hake Kei Kichuna Bhavi Hana. The translation is glorify Krishna, worship Krishna, and chant the name of Krishna. Do not think of anything other than Krishna. So the first word is glorify Krishna. Glorify Sankirtan is also glorifying Krishna. Speaking about Krishna is also glorification of Krishna. Then he says, worship Krishna and chant the name of Krishna. Do not think of anything other than Krishna. Then there is an important point that even though preachers of the Krishna conscious movement may be unable to describe the glories of the Lord, they can nonetheless go everywhere and request people to chant Hare Krishna, which I mentioned before, that even though we may not be able to describe the glories of the unlimited Lord, but still it is our duty for which Srila Prabhupada has established this movement to the capacity we have based on the instructions that are coming from Sadhu Shastra and Guru, and ask others to chant. Now, chanting Hare Krishna does not have any limitation. You can chant anywhere, however, whatever time it is. Similarly, that is the easiest means of glorifying the Lord, by making others to chant Hare Krishna. And that asking them, others to chant Hare Krishna, there is no limitation, there is no qualification. You can do it anywhere, anytime. So, but the conclusion is that devotional service is a real method, because by devotional service, one can satisfy the Supreme Personality of Godhead with just a few words. There is an example in Chaitanya Charitamrita where Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was sitting with his spiritual master, Keshav Bharati. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu asked Keshav Bharati, what is greater, which is greater, jnana or bhakti? Keshav Bharati replied, after considering the topic, I have concluded that the glories of bhakti are superior to all. Then the Lord asked, why is bhakti greater than jnana? Many sannyasis says that jnana is greater than bhakti. Keshav Bharati replied, they have not understood the conclusion accepted by the Mahajanas. So many times we see that people might speak on an intellectual manner to exhibit their intelligence, but by this example, Keshav Bharati is setting an example that ultimately bhakti is the path given by the Mahajanas. Mahajanas are authorities of the Lord, like Yamaraj, Brahma, Rudra. They are all Mahajanas who have shown through the example how to glorify the Lord. Then he says that fools give up that path to take up another. That means those who are giving up the path of bhakti to take the path of jnana, they are basically fools. This is what Lord Shiva is describing. Then he says, if jnana was greater, they would have asked for jnana. Why would the Mahajanas reject liberation and beg for bhakti? That means the Mahajanas describe that bhakti is the greatest form of glorifying the Lord, and that is a devotional service. Therefore, the path of devotional service followed by the Mahajanas is the best. So when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu heard this, he loudly chanted the name of Hari and said, if you had told jnana was better, I would have jumped into the ocean. That means Mahaprabhu was very happy when he heard from his spiritual master that bhakti is the most important path of glorifying the Lord. And then he said that if his spiritual master had told jnana would have been better, He would have jumped into the ocean. Then he says, but since you said bhakti is greater, I would like to stay here for some more time. Then the Lord caught hold of his Keshavarti's feet and offered obeisances to him. Another example in Chaitanya Charitamrita, where once a devotee Satyaraja Khan asked Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, my dear Lord, being a householder and a materialistic man, I do not know the process of advancing in spiritual life. I submit myself unto your lotus feet and request you to give me orders. Mahaprabhu replied, without cessation, continue chanting of the name of Lord Krishna. Whenever possible, serve him and his devotees, the Vaishnavas. Simply by chanting the holy name of Krishna, one becomes free from all sinful reactions. So here is another instruction that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gave, which is the only valuable instruction that one can have in this Kali Yuga, chanting the holy name of the Lord, which can free one from all the sinful reactions. And Mahaprabhu concluded that instruction by saying, one can complete the 9 processes of devotional service simply by chanting the holy name. The 9 processes are Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Padasevanam, Archanam, Vandanam, Dasyam, Shakyam, Atmanivedanam. So like this, there are 9 processes. But if by chanting the holy name of the Lord, it is as good as completing all the other processes also. Because it is not possible for everyone to take to deity worship. It may not be possible everyone to surrender immediately. But if one takes the process of Shravanam and Kirtanam, the first 2 things, then automatically Vishnu Smaranam comes and takes care of everything. In Chaitanya Bhagavat, there are some slokas on the importance of devotional service. One sloka, it says, Bhakti Yoga, Bhakti Yoga, Bhakti Yoga Dana, Bhakti Ay Krishna Nama Smarana Krandana. The translation is, devotional service, devotional service, devotional service is the greatest treasure. And devotional service means crying while remembering Krishna's names. I will repeat this translation again because 3 times when it is said, it is mentioned in the Shastras, that 3 times if a particular name is pronounced, that is ultimate. And the translation says, devotional service, devotional service, devotional service, the greatest treasure. That means there is no other treasure other than devotional service. And he says that devotional service means crying while remembering Krishna's names. We may not be able to reach that stage immediately, but over a period of time, if we are able to purify our anarthas, one can reach that stage where one will start automatically crying when he thinks of Krishna. Another important sloka, Krishna Bali Kandile se Krishna Nama Bile, Dana Kule Kichu Nahe Krishna Na Bajile. That translation says, the pure name of Krishna manifests when one cries while chanting the name of Krishna. Wealth and high birth are useless if one does not worship Krishna. So you must understand, when we know there are 3 stages of chanting: offensive chanting, transition stage, and finally offenseless chanting, Namabha stage and offenseless chanting. When one reaches the stage of offenseless chanting, that means he will be able to reach the name of pure chanting of the holy name. And at that time, one automatically starts crying when he utters the name of Krishna. And then in this instruction also mentioned, if one has got wealth and one has got a high birth, they are useless if one does not worship Krishna. If one has got devotional service, if he doesn't have anything, that is the most richest person. And that is explained in the next sloka also. The translation says, Bhakti Yoga, sloka says, Bhakti Yoga Dave Sakala Kushala, Bhakti Vina Raja Haile or Amangala. That means the translation is, if one has devotion, then everything is well. But without devotion, even the position of a king is inauspicious. That means one might have a lot of wealth, one might be very famous, one may be holding a very important position in the society, one may be a great leader. But if he doesn't have devotion, that is inauspicious. But if one has got devotion, then everything is auspicious. Another sloka in which the translation says, if one has wealth, fame and material enjoyment, but is bereft of devotional service, then everything is inauspicious. One may have a lot of wealth, one may become very famous uh, as a sportsman, politician, whatever it is, and he may have a lot of material enjoyment. But if he doesn't have devotional service, then everything is inauspicious. Then there is one more which says, and if one is poor, that he has no food for a day, but he has devotion to Lord Vishnu, then he's the richest person. These are some of the important quotes given in Chaitanya Bhagavat, which is also one of the important books. That means if one is poor, that he doesn't have even food for his sustenance, but if he has got devotion to Krishna, that means everything is the richest person. So richest person is not calculated by one's wealth or by one's birth or one's education qualification, but one who has got devotion service is the richest person. And the translation of the second part of the sloka says, without devotional service, volumes of books cannot satisfy the Lord. That means one may have a lot of books, one may have a lot of Puranas, Upanishads, and so forth, Vedas, and so forth. But if one is not able to practice devotional service, none of them can satisfy the Lord. So the only one and one thing that satisfies the Lord is pure devotional service. The fourth canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, Narad Muni gives instruction to the Parchetas. In the translation, he says that the Supreme Personality of Godhead becomes very dear to devotees who have no material possessions, but are fully happy in possessing the devotional service of the Lord. The point is that Lord becomes very dear to devotees. It is not that the Lord does not like somebody who has got material possessions, but you must understand this translation very clearly. The Supreme Personality of Godhead becomes very dear to devotees who have no material possession but are fully happy in possessing the devotional service of the Lord. Because there was a long discussion in this morning class, I had another class before coming here. The point was that one may have a lot of wealth and a lot of opulence, etc. But if they are not used in the service of Krishna, all that material opulence is nothing but a waste. So the biggest and the most important thing that one can possess in their life is devotion service to the Lord. Then the next part of the translation in this sloka says, indeed, the Lord relishes the devotional service of such devotees. The point we must understand, we may have wealth, fame, a lot of knowledge, beauty, everything, but the Lord relishes the devotional service of devotees for whom devotional service is the most important. The rest are all secondary. Secondary means as long as one is utilizing everything in the service of Krishna, that becomes a source of purification for them. And the Lord is very dear to such devotees. Then the third point in the translation says, those who are puffed up with material education, wealth, etc., often become proud and start deriding the devotees. So those who have a lot of material wealth and those who have a good material education, at some point or other, they become very proud and start deriding the other devotees. And even if such people offer the Lord worship, the Lord never accepts them. That means one may have a lot of opulence, but if they start deriding the others, the Lord does not accept worship from them. A pure devotee is one who does not possess anything material, is always happy possessing only one thing, that is devotional service. So important stress is given on the importance of devotional service. And Sridhara Swami, who is one of the acharyas in our parampara, he says that bhakti is like a cool river of honey flowing. See, when we go by the river side, we see water flows giving a cooling atmosphere. But in the case of bhakti, it is like a river of honey which is flowing. One important quote I thought. Lord Brahma, he offers prayers in the third canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, where he says that devotional service is the highest perfection to be achieved by intelligent person. In fact, there was a meeting between Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, which is mentioned in Chaitanya Charitamrita, where it's mentioned that Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya was a great jnani. He was a great scholar. He had a lot of, he was well versed in all the slokas, and it was we recite them by memory. So he was a jnani before he met Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And after hearing from Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he says, I have been eating dry oil cakes like a sugar cane that has been ground many times in a grinder. So we see outside, we see many times they put sugar cane many times in a grinder. But what happens? The first one is sweet, and the later on ones, the sweet starts reducing. So Sarvam Bhattacharya says that after hearing from Srimad Bhagavat, after hearing Srimad Bhagavat about glories of Srimad Bhagavatam from Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he says, I've been eating dry oil cakes as a jnani. But after hearing from you, I'm now tasting the rasa of flowing stream of honey in the form of Krishna Katha and nice Jagannath Prasadam. So when he started hearing from from Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he started relishing the taste of honey. You know, honey is very sweet. And what honey? In the form of Krishna Katha and nice Jagannath Prasadam. This was the glorification of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu by Sarvam Bhattacharya. Bhakti is Krishna Katha, which is very sweet, easy, very sweet to taste. And bhakti also gives all the fruits of karma, jnana, etc. Then the next important point is Lord Brahma. He is the greatest of well versed in knowledge. Is supposed to be the greatest jnani. And he proclaimed that bhakti is the best and the highest means of attaining Krishna. And it starts with Shravanam and Kirtanam. Without Shravanam Kirtanam, there is no Smaranam. The Bhakti Yoga followers are followers of hearing and chanting, and ultimately Achyuta Param Gatim. That perfection of life is actually called Brahma Gati. And then another example that is given is devotional service is like fire, and anyone who touches burns their finger, whether rich or poor, educated or illiterate. Similarly, anyone who comes in contact with devotional service of the Lord become cleansed of all the sinful activities. So just like somebody touches fire, his finger gets burnt. Similarly, when one comes in contact with devotional service to the Lord, one becomes cleansed of all the sinful activities. There is a nice quote by Madhavacharya. I'm not quoting the sloka. This is given in Srimad Bhagavatam. Now, the translation is Lord Vishnu dwells in devotional service. He is controlled by devotional service. Only by devotional service does he give darshana to his devotees. And only by devotional service does he award liberation to living entities. I'll recite all the four important points. Lord Vishnu dwells in devotional service. That means when one performs devotional service, Lord Vishnu is present in that. Then he says he is controlled by devotional service. That when one can control the Lord by performing devotional service. There are many examples like Kolvecha Sita and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Chaitanya Charitamrita, and so forth. Only by devotion service he can give darshana to his devotee. That means when we perform devotion service, the Lord can give darshana to his devotees. And only by devotional service does he award liberation to living entities. These are four important points. Intense affection for Lord Vishnu is called devotional service, and this devotional service is the supreme method of achieving Vishnu. So the point is that ultimately devotional service is the only method to attain the Lord. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu further quotes, by devotional service, one's chanting and that means without, I'm not quoting the sloka is Bhakti Bina Japa Tapa Akinchit Kara. Okay, the translation is without devotional service, one's chanting and austerities are meaningless. That means one may wake up very early in the morning and go to Mangalarti in the temple, attend evening Aarti. One might constantly be chanting the name of the Lord, but one does not develop devotional service, then it's all meaningless. The point is that we may not perform devotional service in the mode of devotional service, but if we have an intent in the heart, the Lord understands the intent and he paves the way for a devotee to progress in devotional service. So even sometimes it may be mechanical, but if the Lord sees our sincerity, then the Lord facilitates one's progress. The last point which I would like to mention is devotional service, the greatest treasure. And devotional service means crying while remembering Krishna's name, which I mentioned. So ultimately, based on this today's purport, translation purport, devotional service is one of the vital aspects, or is not one of the vital aspects, is the most important aspect in one's life. And by glorifying the Lord or pure devotees of the Lord becomes pleased. And second thing is that one becomes purified of all the anarthas. And one should also glorify the Lord based on reference from Sadhu Shastra and Guru. The reason is that we are not qualified enough to glorify. So if we are able to recite the prayers mentioned in Srimad Bhagavatam, Chaitanya Charitamrita, Chaitanya Mahabhagavat, it is as good as glorifying the Lord to our capacity. With this, I conclude the class for the day. If anyone has got any questions or comments, they can ask me.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, Danda Pranam Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, Danda Prabhu.
Thanks for the wonderful, very wonderful class, Prabhuji. Very, very valid points. Prabhuji, like I missed 2 or 3, like please can you help me understand this? Like as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu asked, which is better, bhakti or gyan?
Yeah,
so
Jnana.
the answer what was given, Prabhu? Can you repeat, Prabhu, please?
Answer was bhakti. See, there are examples in Chaitanya Charitamrita itself. The Lord performed this pastime just to show that bhakti is more important. Advaita Acharya, he was a very scholarly person. So the Lord asked Advaita Acharya, which is better? Advaita Acharya first said Jnana is better. Then there is a big argument between Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Advaita Acharya. And finally, Advaita Acharya also confirmed that bhakti is better. The point is that when one develops a lot of knowledge, that knowledge should result in purification of us. Correct? Am I correct, Prabhu?
Yes, Prabhu. Yes.
But many times what happens is by reading too many books, one develops a lot of pride in him. Instead of developing humility, if one develops pride, then that's an impediment in one's life. That is why in the discussion also, the conclusion was that bhakti is any day higher than jnana, because bhakti does not bring pride as much as jnana.
Okay.
And the example is given that jnana is prayers, short term, but bhakti is shreyas, that is long term.
And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was asking this question to which is better, like jnana or bhakti, to whom, Prabhu? Whom he was asking?
One is one second. One is Advaita Acharya himself, and then the other one is Brahmana, whom he met in the process of his. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu asked his spiritual master Keshav Bharti.
Keshav Bharti,
Yeah, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's spiritual master.
Okay. And Prabhu, as you mentioned that, yes, Prabhu, yes.
There are some more examples where this discussion takes place. Some are mentioned in Chaitanya Charitamrita and some are mentioned in Chaitanya Bhagavad.
And Prabhu, you mentioned the class like if one doesn't have even one-time food, if he is doing devotional service, he is the richest person.
Yes.
So one may argue that yes, how can we say that if he doesn't have food also to eat, so what will devotional service do for him? How can he survive? So how to answer the question, Prabhu?
I'll give you an example from Chaitanya Charitamrita itself. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had a very dear devotee in the name of Kolvecha Sridhar. And this Kolvecha Sridhar was selling banana cups and plates made of banana leaves. That was his sustenance. And the place where he was staying, there was a water leakage from the roof. It was a hut. And one day, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu would every day go and bargain with him. Like we go and bargain, if somebody quotes 4 rupees, we say 2 rupees. No. Mahaprabhu would bargain with Kolvecha Sridhar, and finally Kolvecha Sridhar would get fed up and tell him, okay, I don't want any money from you, take it free. And Mahaprabhu would take it. And Mahaprabhu would relish that transaction with Kolvecha Sridhar. So one day when Mahaprabhu went to Kolvecha Sridhar's hut, he saw a rusted glass in which there was some water. Mahaprabhu went and drank that water straight away, Kolvecha Sridhar was so poor, but he was happy. He didn't have a proper house. He was happy. If you go to Mayapur today, also there are many people who sustain their living by selling something very menial. But when Mahaprabhu revealed this Mahaprakash Leela, Mahaprabhu gave him a benediction. Kolvecha, I want to give you a benediction. In fact, Mahaprabhu tells Kolvecha, see that I see that you don't have proper clothes to wear. I see that you don't get timely food. And I see water is leaking from your house. But still, you are always chanting the glories of the Lord. Kolvecha Sridhar said, what I've got due to my karma. And I'm not worried about that. But if I'm able to chant the holy name of the Lord, that is much more better. Now, people outside used to think that this man has become mad because all the time, night and all, he's chanting, and because he doesn't have money to have food, he's chanting very loudly, begging, thinking that like a beggar, people might give money. That is how people used to come and criticize him. But Mahaprabhu said, you are the greatest of the devotee. And when Mahaprabhu wanted to give that benediction, this Kolvechara said, birth after birth, I want to be the same person who is selling banana leaves and cups, and I want you also come birth after that and argue between the two of us. So you understand the essence of the pastime is Kolvecha Sridhar was so poor. Mahaprabhu did not think about that. But Mahaprabhu appreciated the devotional service of Kolvecha Sridhar, and more so when he said, birth after birth, I want your devotional service to you. Let me be happy selling the cups and banana leaves. So if you ask many poor devotees, they may be satisfied with devotional service. But at the same time, there may be devotees who are very, very rich, by which they may get puffed up. So that pride is something that develops in devotee if they have a lot of knowledge, which is what that jnana means, and which also is the case with when one has opulence and doesn't use it in the service of Krishna. We see in our own case, Prabhu, in the temple, there are so many devotees, they don't want to spend money for Lord. Am I correct?
Yes, Prabhu. Yes.
But people who don't have money, they naturally have a tendency, because the Lord himself says, I take away everything by which he surrenders unto me. So like that, there are many who have surrendered. So not that, but like I said today, the class before also, the point is that if one has got, one has to use everything in the service of Krishna. That gives purification.
Yes, Prabhu. Yes. And Prabhu, like, of course, like when is very much satisfied with devotional service, they don't hanker for all these material these things, Prabhuji. And when they so in that way, where they are the richest persons, because
yes,
of course, yes, Prabhuji, yes.
The Lord may give opulence also.
Yes.
If the Lord knows that by giving an opulence, his devotional service is not disturbed, the Lord may give. But if the Lord feels that by giving opulence, this devotional service will be spoiled, like we see, Kolvecha Sridhar was happy in devotional service. He was not worried about his eating. He was not worried about water leaking from his thatched hut.
Yes. Thank you, Prabhuji. Thanks a lot, Prabhuji.
Thank you, Prabhu. Any other questions coming, Prabhu?
No,
Okay.
Prabhuji.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Thank you.
Thank you all very much. Granth Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.